While 95% of people support organ donation, only 46% are registered donors, according to Donate Life America, a nonprofit organization working to increase the number of donated organs, eyes and tissue to save and heal us through transplantation. Marcia Key for Harmony TWP. Colleen Higby is sick. Just not sick enough. To get better, she'll have to get sicker. Sounds like a riddle. It is a tough puzzle, one not easily solved. And the sad truth, someone also has to die. The Harmony Township woman needs a new heart. But there aren't enough. While 95% of people support organ donation, only 46% are registered donors, according to Donate Life America, a nonprofit organization working to increase the number of donated organs, eyes and tissue to save and heal us through transplantation. Thus, the need to prioritize those who are the sickest, most desperate, most likely to die if not on top of a national transplant list. And so Higby, 49, waits until she's sicker. Or waits until more people register as organ donors. She's been waiting 3 years. She's not alone. Currently, 115,000 men, women and children await life-saving organ transplants. Put another way, the largest football stadium in the country can't fit the number of patients on the national list. Every 10 minutes, another person is added. Every day, 22 people die because an organ isn't available. That adds up to 8,000 deaths annually, said Donate Life America. Signs were there. The signs, perhaps subtle at first, were there. Higby discounted them. Back trouble, she thought. Active, she played hockey, ran, did all kinds of things, she said. Smoked, too, and in hindsight realizes the habit didn't help matters at all, either. She remembered the trip to Las Vegas with friends. She couldn't walk the 4-mile strip without having to stop frequently because of pain. I was probably having small heart attacks, she said, but I'd stop and have a cigarette to wait it out. Now, looking back, I'm lucky I didn't drop dead at any point in time. For about 3 months, she sought help from a chiropractor, but when the backache persisted and grew more severe, she went to a hospital. They just sent me home with some painkillers and told me to go back to the chiropractor. Higby, who doesn't tolerate pain medication, didn't take the pills. That night, the pain actually got really severe, and so I went back to a different hospital. Apparently, I was just having a heart attack, she said. Higby was 34 when she had her first open heart surgery, a quadruple bypass. Like unclogging old plumbing, her arteries were lined with plaque, a sticky buildup of cholesterol, fat, calcium and cellular waste that caused ischemia, an inadequate blood supply to her heart. She blamed it on high cholesterol, cigarettes and bad genes, a family history of heart disease. Higby, whose elevated cholesterol wasn't able to be managed well, was told she might need another open heart procedure someday. 11 years later, in August 2014, she found herself again on an operating room table, her chest cracked open for a triple bypass. They tried, and they basically failed, Higby said. They pretty much said that my arteries are like butter. They couldn't keep them together. Months passed, but Higby said something wasn't right. She simply had no energy. Instead of opening her chest again, a cardiac surgeon threaded a stent, an expandable, metal mesh tube, via catheter through the femoral artery in her groin up to her heart to open her left anterior descending artery. The lad, running down the heart's front wall, supplies more than half of the muscle with blood. That's what's keeping me moving, she said. If that fails, I'm in the hospital. And that could happen at any time. Higby also was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, an enlarged and weakened heart that doesn't pump effectively. The muscle is dying at the bottom, she said. My arteries are extremely thin. In 2014, the day after Christmas, Higby was placed on the transplant list. Life in slow motion. Outwardly, you wouldn't know Colleen Higby is ill. Her coloring's normal. She's not on portable oxygen. I'm much more lucky, she said, because my lungs are okay, for the most part. Every day she works as a marketing specialist at Comcast in Robinson Township. Look closer, however. A vertical scar peeks from her V-neck sweater just below the collarbone. Her voice is deep, husky. The last time I had surgery, they couldn't get me off the respirator, she said. Higby developed an infection and remained intubated for 13 days, which she says caused her deeper voice. She knows she's not well. Life now is in slow motion. Whenever she exerts herself, climbing a flight of stairs, Even dressing or lowering her head to slip into shoes, she experiences pain. While she's supposed to exercise, she's not permitted to run. Basically, they've asked me not to get my heart rate above 120, which really limits a lot, she said. I can walk about 2.8 miles per hour on a treadmill. That's about the quickest I can go. Activities are limited. Going out with friends is more like paint night now, she said. Instead of going to laser tag, everything kind of changes in that capacity. Higby swallows about 13 pills a day, 8 in the morning, 4 or 5 at night, to dilate arteries and slow her heart rate, as well as lower cholesterol. Her ideal blood pressure reading is 160, relatively low, which, she said, is the reason she's cold a lot. She has to watch her diet to maintain her weight. I'm supposed to try to stay healthy. Some days she has more energy than others, but by evening, usually around 7, she's spent. Every 3 months, she sees a cardiologist. You notice something else about Higby as she sits at a conference table. Curled at her feet is Piers, a 5-year-old, sand-colored, English Labrador Retriever. Together 2.5 years, they're inseparable. Piers is Higby's service dog, trained to alert when her pulse or blood pressure go up. Piers, she said, is very sensitive to my stress level. Having him with me just reminds me that I need to pay attention, kind of remember that I'm not exactly where everybody else is. Piers whines or moves closer, tugging on her clothes when he senses anxiety. If I wasn't comfortable having a conversation with you, he could sense that. He'd move around more, she said. If she's emotional and cries, Piers will get a little agitated and try to comfort me, gets a little closer. That reminds Higby to calm down or stop whatever physical activity she's doing. For me, he's like a second part of me. When people touch him, it's like people giving me a hug. You don't even realize the bond that happens. He's my lifeline. He's a good reminder for me that I need to relax and stay calm and remember what's important, live my life day to day like he does. Human side of donation. In 1984, Congress passed the National Organ Transplant Act, which created the Organ Procurement and Transplant Network to guarantee fairness in organ allocation. A national computerized registry was developed to match donor organs with candidates on the transplant waiting list based on blood and tissue type matches, body size, how sick the person is, how long he's been on the list, and proximity to the donor. Organ viability varies. A heart must be transplanted within 4 to 6 hours, for example, said Andy Nichols, social media coordinator for the Center for Organ Recovery and Education. Race, income, gender, celebrity and social status have no influence. CORE is one of 58 federally designated, not-for-profit organ procurement organizations in the country. Pittsburgh is headquarters for a geographic area that encompasses 150 hospitals and more than 5 million people in western Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Chemin County, NY Allegheny General, UPMC Presbyterian Virginia Pittsburgh Healthcare System and Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh of UPMC are local hospitals that perform transplants. Typically, donor matches are first attempted with recipients in a region served by a procurement organization. But if no match is found, organs are offered regionally, then nationally. An organ donor could help 8 people. Tissue, bones, ligaments, tendons. Donors can improve up to 50s, said CORE. Corneas, heart valves and skin also can be donated. People of all ages and medical histories can be potential donors. At time of death, doctors determine what can be donated. The United Network for Organ Sharing, a nonprofit that manages the nation's organ transplant system under contract with the federal government, keeps records on transplants by organ type. National data from Jan. 1, 1988, to February 28, 2018, shows 726,950 transplants. Top 5, kidney, 428,297, R, 157,221, heart, 69,431, lung, 36,198, kidney/pancreas, 23,019. The Organ Procurement and Transplant Network, which operates under contract with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services by the United Network for Organ Sharing, said 7,847 Pennsylvanians await organ transplants. Higby is one of 183 people in the state needing a heart. As important as statistics are, it's the faces that tell the story. Faces like Higby's. CORE, along with Donate Life Pennsylvania, developed a campaign called The Human Side of Donation to tell stories of donors, recipients and those awaiting transplants and to promote organ and tissue donation. Higbee's profile is one of 13 men, women and children from Erie to Philadelphia, featured in short videos that can be viewed on Donate Life's social media platforms and in digital ads. To view, visit www.donatelifepod.org/humanside/. The campaign's really about putting a face on this entire issue, Nichols said. We have someone like Colleen, but we know that 115,000 people are on the national transplant list right now. But it's not a statistic. Those are people, those are human beings, it's not just a number, and Colleen represents one of them, one of these people desperately waiting for a life-saving transplant. By doing this campaign is to show that if these stories move you, if you want to help, the way you help is by registering to be an organ donor and by having your friends and family register to be an organ donor. That's how you can help. And it's as simple as going to court.org/register, and it takes 30 seconds and you're on the list. If something were to ever happen to you, then you have the chance to help someone else like Colleen on. It's become very therapeutic for a lot of donor families, too, just to know that the legacy of their loved one is still living on and is helping someone else going through a difficult time get their second chance at life. Advocacy equates to more lives saved. In its 2016 annual report, CORE said the number of organ donors increased 14.5% over a 3-year period. Tomorrow not a given for people like Higbee who await a heart transplant. The United Network for Organ Sharing created a 4-level status classification based on condition. Status 1A is urgent need requiring intensive care hospitalization, life support or mechanical heart pump. Status 1B candidates depend on mechanical assist devices and intravenous medications and can be either hospitalized or at home. Status 2 people are stable, on oral medications and are at home. Status 7 are on an inactive list because of a change in condition. Higbee is status 2. I can function, I'm not in the hospital, and I don't need something assistive like Thilvide, heart pump, she said. If that artery would completely fail now, I would be in the hospital, but I would move up on the list because my need would be greater. Enter wait for a heart could be reduced to 3 to 6 months, she said. If there were enough hearts available, and there were enough donors available, I wouldn't be waiting as long, she said. There would be more than enough, and we wouldn't be waiting for someone to get critical and then to choose. Nichols said only about 1 in 4 receives a transplant in Pennsylvania. The odds are not in my favor. Not at all, Higbee said. Is that a worry? Sure, she said. Absolutely. Every day that I wake up, I have to remember it's a gift. I have to be grateful for every moment. Tomorrow, she said, is not a given. For me, it's very scary. When I see my friends, I make sure I tell everybody how I feel about them right then, she said. She has a stack of letters, she rewrites them every 6 to 8 months, ready to be distributed in case she should die tomorrow. I don't ever want to leave without people knowing how I feel. Life is about connections. Every day people are dying, Higbee said. Every day someone's waiting or thinks they may die. Every day someone's sitting in a hospital wondering if a heart's going to come in for them, she said. It doesn't feel that great to know someone has to die in order for me to, but I'm grateful for the people that made that choice, to donate, she said. My life is not going to be extended unless someone steps up. And that's why Higbee stepped up. She's a registered organ donor, has been since she learned to drive at age 16. No, she can't donate her heart and likely not her lungs, but she said she could donate kidneys, skin, corneas, tissue, bone. Life, Higbee said, is about connections. I don't think there's a better way to connect than organ donation, she said. What a great way to carry on a tradition of someone that you love knowing that they're able to allow someone else to.